All right, go for it.
Hi everyone, my name is Mica. I'm a senior at Duke University and I studied abroad in Madrid, Spain, spring of 2014.
Great. So can you tell us why you decided to do a study abroad program?
Of course. I really wanted a chance to immerse myself in a language, not so much in a classroom, but rather being immersed with people who actually are native to the country and native to the language. I really wanted the chance to kind of challenge myself to not just be able to have an hour-and-a-half long conversation with either my classmates or my professors or kind of apply the language in a very closed setting, but rather have to depend on my language skills in order to survive. And that's something I was definitely able to do when I studied abroad.
Okay, great. So I know that Duke has a lot of support for students financially interested in going abroad. If finances were an issue at all for you in getting abroad, can you describe what kinds of support you got, and if you got any big name scholarships, which kinds of scholarships you were able to get?
I was lucky in that I didn't need any financial support and that Duke provided me with the same type of scholarships that I was receiving if I was on campus. So it really it ended up being cheaper for me to study abroad, which worked out well.
Awesome. So can you tell us what kind of experiences you had while you were abroad with regard to like any kind of discrimination? Did that happen at all? And if it did, how did you respond, or how did you create it into a teachable moment?
My experience with discrimination wasn't so much that it was very explicit. Like I didn't have any experiences where someone wouldn't serve me or I couldn't go somewhere that my friends could. Rather, it was just constant staring. So in that case, Madrid especially is very homogeneous in that everyone, looks the same, and they're still kind of reeling from the effects of a dictatorship that lasted over 70 years, which really discouraged people from leaving the country, but also allowing immigrants to come into the country. So to see an African-American woman by herself, who was also a student who could speak Spanish, was something that was very jarring. So it was really hard to kind of know that you were different, and that people really, it wasn't like in America where staring is considered rude. It was just something they did because they were curious. But that's hard to be a foreigner and know that everyone's looking at you, especially when they'd see me and my friends we were all different nationalities. So my one friend was Latina and my other friend was Asian and I'm black. So seeing these three different people who are clearly foreigners and then speaking Spanish, but they can also speak English, was just hard. But my host mom would always remind me that people weren't doing it to be rude. It was more so just curiosity. But I think it taught me, the way I worked through it is, I just remembered that I was in a different place and that, if all they're going to do is stare, that it could be a lot worse. But it just really taught me the beauty and the diversity that we have in the United States, in that, it's great that I could appreciate that because I studied abroad, but the way I worked through it was just reminding myself that, like, thankfully I'm from a place where I'm not looked at differently just because of the color of my skin. I might experience different things, but people aren't staring at me just because I look so different from everyone else.
Interesting. Okay. And so what do you think you learned in Spain, either professionally or personally, that you don't think you could have learned if you hadn't left the country or the campus even?
I learned that I can be independent and I can fend for myself even if I don't have a total mastery of a language. I went into Spain extremely rusty with my Spanish, and I was really worried I wouldn't be able to survive, but yet it just took a lot of patience. So I also learned I do have patience with myself and patience with others, whereas if I couldn't communicate what exactly I wanted to say and someone couldn't understand me, it definitely took me trying again. So perseverance, I think, is another one. To just really speak through it and really keep trying and not get discouraged if someone didn't understand me or my professors couldn't get the point I was trying to make that was bigger than just saying, like, the room is red, but really trying to get into the deeper meaning of things. I also learned that, I could be away from my family in the sense that I lived in a different time zone and a different area, and I could be away from my friends, and I could make new friends, and I could have new adventures and new experiences that I never would have gotten the opportunity to have if I stayed in America. And then additionally, I got a global perspective. I know a lot of people say that, but I really felt like I, for the first time in my life, got to see the beauty of other places and other countries and natural sites and places you read about in textbooks, but also just experience the people. And for the first time ever, I felt like I was literally mixing with people I would never experience in the United States, which I think just taught me how to be more of a people person, in that it's not just people I can interact with because we come from the same country, but rather people that we share a universal experience, whether it be because we're both women, or because we're people of color, or because we lived in this country for this amount of time or at the same time. So that's something I would say, I guess, perseverance, patience, independence, and then just more people-to-people skills are just 4 of the things that I really was able to extend in my study abroad experience.
Okay. So my last question is, what advice do you give to students who haven't gone abroad yet?
I would say just do it, despite, the anxiety you may have, or the fact I didn't have any friends that I really knew well that were studying abroad with me. But I wanted to try something different, which is so scary and seems so foreign, and people just want to stay in their bubble, but you will learn so many things about yourself and about a new country, and maybe even about your home where you're from studying abroad, and really getting the opportunity to work through something that might be difficult and might not seem like the best all the time, but in the end you'll come out a better person because of it.
Great. Thank you.
No problem.